Was a girl running in a group. She had a high-speed motor in a 40 Ford coupe. She had a racing cam and a supercharged. Look at Buddy, hot rod and large. She's a hot rod. She's a hot rod.
Now, we're going to talk about electric cars. It's a long history, and not a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't get it. Now, some people do remember one car. It's been 25 years since the General Motors EV1 rolled into showrooms and launched the electrical vehicle in the modern era. 25 years ago. Okay? Whew. Now, you really want to know who killed the electric car? I'll tell you, it was a guy named Charles Kettering. Or Kettering. And he did it in a surprising way. At the dawn of the automotive era, this is 1900 now, or earlier, three energy sources were battling for supremacy to drive the automobile: gasoline, electricity, and steam. And each had major drawbacks, of course. Gasoline was expensive, hard to find, and dangerous, of course, to handle. Worse, cars with gasoline engines had to be hand-cranked. A risky, potentially bone-breaking activity. Yep, it would kick back on you and break your arm. Oh boy. Electric cars use batteries to store energy, which is fed to a motor that drives the wheels. But the lead-acid batteries used in the early electric automobiles or vehicles were heavy, and the driving range was extremely limited, maybe 50 miles max. The vehicles were extremely slow and charging times were long. In other words, you could go 50 miles, you had to charge it for a day and a half. Steam-powered vehicles, which outsold gasoline-powered vehicles from 1899 to 1905, were slow to fire up and get rolling, and they took the skills of an engineer to operate the levers, pumps, handles, and pressure valves. Well, yeah, you had to worry about getting blown up. I mean, nobody wants to get blown up, Eric. And these are now this is 1889. In 1912, a device invented by Kettering, one of the founders of Dayton Engineering Laboratories Company, or as you know it, Delco. It appeared on a Cadillac. Instead of an iron hand crank now that everybody had to twist, a small, high-torque electric motor operated by a twist of a key turned the crankshaft and started the engine. By the mid-1920s, the electric self-starter was standard on nearly every automobile. Steam and battery-powered vehicles faded away. He killed the electric vehicle, and he killed the steam vehicle, with one swoop. Because now the gasoline vehicle became easy, Eric. You didn't get killed trying to start the damn thing. I don't know. It was pretty scary. Now, after a century of fits and starts, the era of the electric car appears to have finally come back. And it did. It's been a long road back. Here's a look at some historic electric vehicles from major automakers and others built in the post-World War II era. Let me just tell you about these vehicles you probably never heard of.
I know, I didn't.
Oh, you weren't born yet.
I wasn't even thought of.
No. You weren't, you're not thought of much now, but you weren't born yet. 1959 Henny Kilowatt. Top speed was 60 mile an hour. The range was 60 miles, and the electric motor was made by a vacuum cleaner manufacturer, Eureka. Oh, cool. General Motors Electrovare 2. That was a 1966 model. Top speed 80 mile an hour. Range 40 to 80 miles, depending on how fast you wanted to go. And it was a Chevrolet Corvair powered by silver zinc batteries. Now the Henry Kilowatt they built 47 of. The General Motors Electrovare, they built one. The battery pack, Eric, cost $160,000 in 1966. I'm not reading this wrong. It's $160,000 for a battery pack. Hello? Oh, I'd like to have some new batteries put in, please. Okay, that'll be
160.
everything you own and you're going to make the rest of your life. Holy crap.
That's outrageous.
1966 GM Electrovan. It was the first fuel cell vehicle made from a GMC handy van. Top speed was 70 mile an hour. Range was 150 miles an hour. And they built just one of them. The vehicle ran under its own power only once. 67, Ford gets in the act. 67 Ford Commuta. C-O-M-U-T-A, Commuta.
Commuter.
A twin-motor microcar with a fiberglass body built by Ford of England. 40 mile per hour, about 25 or 40 miles. Number they built, 4. The Commuta was even smaller than a Smart for 2, so this thing was like tiny. 1978, the GE 100, made by General Electric. Oh my God, I didn't know General Electric made a car. Well, they did. They only built one. The one of test vehicle used 18 advanced 6-volt lead acid batteries, 60 mile an hour, 75 mile an hour range. They only built one, and starting next month, the GE 100 will be on display in the Saratoga Automobile Museum in New York. So in other words, you don't want to know. The 1990, now we're up to 1990, GM Impact, the first modern vehicle from a major automaker designed from the wheels up as an electric car. Top speed 100 mile an hour, range about 70 miles. The number they built was 12. The notable note about this, the Impact concept was the precursor to the GM EV1. All right, here we go. 1992 Ford EcoStar. It used sodium sulfur batteries installed in an English Ford Escort van. I didn't know there was an Escort van. Wow. Ford lent the vans to companies for fleet testing. 75 mile an hour, range of 100 miles. And they built 100 of them. Ford built 100 of them. Of course, Ford's got an assembly plant. Each EcoStar cost Ford around $250,000 to make. Here's your... I bought a new car. It was $250,000. Without that, they'd have to make a profit. It'd have to be $260,000.
Right.
So they can make 10 grand. Wow. My God, that was a 92 Ford EcoStar. 1997 Honda EV Plus. Designed from the wheels up by an electric car to be an electric car. Honda was the first automaker to use nickel metal hydride batteries. Honda's always up on top of the batteries. 80 mile an hour, 81 miles it'll go. They built 325 of them, so you know they meant their business. The first Honda FCX fuel cell vehicles used repurposed EV Plus chassis. So there were some chassis laying around from the electric vehicle. My goodness. 1997. Did you know in 1997, Eric, General Motors made an S10 electric van or pickup? The compact pickup used the EV1's basic powertrain and electronics to drive the front wheels. What I want to know is because S10 was a rear-wheel drive at one time. Top speed was 70 mile an hour, 88 miles, and they built 492 of them. And the note here is that GM was trying to make a business of electric vehicles and used as many EV1 parts in the S10 electric as possible. My God.
Fun fact, 1997, I was in kindergarten.
Oh, my. Oh, my. Well, Eric doesn't remember that one very well. Here's another 97. The compact crossover was converted from a gasoline RAV4 and used nickel metal hydride batteries. 85 mile an hour. It'd go 95 miles. They built 1,400 of them, 1,484. Toyota partnered with Tesla on the second generation RAV4 EV. So this is where all this is going, boys and girls, moms and dads.
The fact that it started way, 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 way back in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
It's just mind-boggling how, not only science, throughout the years, obviously science took over, started taking over
technology
and everything like that. Yes,
it was blossomed.
But the fact that they started back into 1920s and we're still at it today, it's
electric vehicles are hard to perfect because of the battery situation. I'm telling you, I would not buy one right now if it had a lithium-ion battery in it. I wouldn't buy it for anything. You couldn't give me a Tesla. It's got to have a little motor to cool it. It's got to have a little motor to heat it. Otherwise, the battery is so doggone unstable. You're sitting on a bomb. I got to tell you, I got a couple stories here, and you're gonna gasp when I tell you about the Tesla crashing. We have had some Tesla crashing that has not been pretty. One was in China. One was here in Florida. And I think the one in Florida, I can't remember which one. One of them burned for 4 weeks.
It burned for 4 weeks?
I thought it was 4 weeks. I got to read that again. It might be 4 days, but still, to burn more than 4 hours, it's a little too much for me.
Exactly.
That's not right.
Anything more than 4 minutes.
But the fire department puts it out. It's like that candle you blow out at your birthday. The trick candle, and it keeps coming back. Well, that's a Tesla.
We did.
You can't put them out.
That's crazy. I mean, hopefully, when you get the story a little later on after our break, hopefully the story's right. But if you say more than 4 days, more than 4 hours is just ridiculous itself. That's how long it takes. Almost
that might have been the car that had no one in the driver's seat.
Yeah, that sounds more than a house fire. You know what I mean? So it's one of those. That's crazy.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's.
Talking about those electronic vehicles, and Eric wasn't even born yet, and they were. Matter of fact, I wasn't born yet when they started making electric vehicles.
Yeah, that's true.
And those batteries were like bombs.
Yes.
You didn't dare smoke around them. You couldn't smoke a cigar while you're driving your electric vehicle because it would explode. Those things were deadly. Mm-hmm. Well, not as deadly as Tesla and his lithium-ion batteries. Let's get this over with. I mean, some of this is good and some of it's bad, but it's Tesla and it's news. And it's something, it's something that I want to tell you about. And it comes to mind that there are people that, they look at the gray hair and they say, he just doesn't like progress. I love progress. I want to own an electric vehicle before I die. Okay? I want to see one in my shop. I want the boys to work on one. I want to go with the times. I want electricity in our world. I think it's the way to fly. I think we got to find a better way to make electricity than the coal-fired breathing furnaces. But yeah, I have several problems with the new electric cars, and one of them is lithium-ion batteries. It just grates me that we can't, with today's technology, this is 2021, Eric, for God's sakes. Why can't we make a battery that isn't volatile, that doesn't have to have a cooling or heating system to keep it from exploding while you're driving it? What happens if the fan goes off in the summer? You're driving down the road and the thing overheats, the battery overheats.
Vice versa in the wintertime.
Say goodbye.
Yeah,
vice versa in the wintertime.
Especially if people up here in the Midwest.
Tesla's got its problems, and he refuses to address them, which is fine. That's Elon. He's cocky, but you know what? I don't care. I just want to tell you what's going on, and I want you just can't get too high tech for me. I love it. The higher the tech, the better. 2 U.S. agencies on Monday said they are investigating a Tesla crash on Saturday in Texas that left 2 dead, which local police said have appeared to have occurred with no one in the driver's seat, Eric. NHTSA, which regulates vehicle safety, and the National Transportation Safety Board both said they would investigate this crash. Just hours before the crash, Tesla Inc. CEO Elon Musk tweeted that his more than 50 million followers, that Tesla with autopilot engaged, now approaching 10 times lower chance of accident than average vehicles. That autopilot, he was told to quit using it. I know he was. Tesla did not immediately comment, and you know darn well he wouldn't. I sent him an email too. He doesn't respond to any of my emails. I think he gets the idea I don't like him.
I was about to say, I wonder why.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But anyway, all right. Here's a new story. Autopilot was operating in at least 3 Tesla vehicles involved in fatal U.S. crashes since 2016. The NHTSA has sent teams to at least 3 other Tesla crashes in recent weeks that were believed to have been tied to autopilot use. Autopilot again, there we are. In Saturday's accident, the 2019 Tesla Model S was traveling at a high speed near Houston when it failed to negotiate a curve, went off the road, crashing into a tree and bursting into flames. Authorities located 2 occupants in the vehicle, one in the front passenger seat and the other in the back seat. So, yeah, nobody was being at the, And a little after the fact news, here it is, Eric. It took more than 30,000 gallons of water to extinguish the fire, which burned for 4 hours. It wasn't 4 days, it was 4 hours.
Still, that's a long time.
Still a long fire. And FYI, last month, the NHTSA told Reuters it had opened 27 special investigations into crashes of Tesla vehicles, 23 of which remain active, and that at least 3 of the crashes had occurred recently. Here we go. There was a doctor named as one of the victims in a fatal crash in Texas, Tesla crash. And you would think a doctor would know better. One of the 2 victims killed in Texas over the weekend in a crash of a Tesla car, believed to operate without a driver, was William Varner, a doctor, his employer said on Tuesday. Witnesses told police that the accident happened shortly after the victims left the house, saying they would test the automated driving capability. Well, let me just tell you how well it works for you. It don't. Okay? It doesn't. I shouldn't say it don't. That's improper, right, Eric?
It very much is.
I know. Well, I'm learning. Tesla chimes up. Tesla says that the China protesters' Model 3 traveling at nearly 75 miles an hour before it crashed in China. Tesla has released the data logs of a car that crashed in China to the woman who garnered local headlines after she staged a protest at this week's Shanghai Auto Show, claiming the vehicle's brakes had failed. The Model 3 car, which was driven by Zhang Yazhu, father at the time, was traveling at 118.5 kilometers, 74 mile an hour, just before impact, and slowed to about 30 mile an hour after the brakes were applied, according to a local media report. The data also showed that the driver braked more than 40 times in the half hour before the crash. And at multiple points, the vehicle was traveling at more than 100 kilometers, 62 miles per hour, so it's over the speed limit. In China, the sort of road in which Zhang's father was traveling generally has a speed limit of 80 miles or 50 mile per hour, 80 kilometers per hour. So he was speeding. He was. And it's all his fault that Tesla crashed. Just ask Elon. All right. Now the story that you've all been waiting for about Tesla. A Tesla can be tricked to run without someone in the driver's seat. See, technically, the computer is set up on a Tesla that there has to be someone in the driver's seat or it won't go into autopilot. Well, Consumer Reports engineers said they easily tricked a Tesla Inc. vehicle to drive via its autopilot feature without anyone in the driver's seat. Hello? In a test conducted this week, test drivers took several trips on a closed half-mile track in a Tesla Model Y. The nonprofit research organization said in a statement Thursday, okay, The vehicle, with autopilot technology engaged, was able to steer itself along painted lines, but at no time displayed a warning that the driver's seat was empty. What they did, and I'll tell you what they did. In our evaluation, the system not only failed to make sure the driver was paying attention, but it also couldn't tell if there was a driver there at all. This according to Jake Fisher, Consumer Reports Senior Director of Auto Testing. Fisher was able to reach over from the passenger seat and accelerate the car using a dial on the steering wheel. What they did is they put a heavier chain on the steering wheel to simulate air. The engineer who conducted the test placed a small weighted chain on the steering wheel to simulate the weight of a driver's hand. So they thought somebody was driving.